The following is a HennessyHendo production. It includes excerpts and material from my vast collection of books and general knowledge. Please share the videos. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Part 2. The Rothschild family's role in Zionism. Overview of the Rothschild dynasty. The Rothschilds were a famed European banking family whose wealth and influence loomed large in the 19th century. Originating in Frankfurt with Mayor Amschel Rothschild in the late 18th century, the family established major banking houses in London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt, amassing vast fortunes and political influence across Europe. By Herzl's era, the Rothschilds, often referred to collectively as the Rothschild family banking dynasty, was synonymous with financial power. Their banks financed governments and enterprises, and family members held titles of nobility in Britain and Austria. This prominence made them natural figures for Herzl and other Zionists to turn to for support. Indeed, Herzl initially addressed Der Judenstaat to the Rothschilds, hoping to win their backing. At the same time, the Rothschilds had for decades engaged in Jewish philanthropy. They supported charitable causes, schools, hospitals, relief funds, in Europe and were aware of growing Jewish nationalist sentiments by the late 1800s. Thus, when Zionism emerged, the Rothschilds inevitably became part of its story, whether as benefactors, interlocutors, or cautious critics. Baron Edmond de Rothschild and early Jewish settlements. The most pivotal Rothschild for early Zionism was Baron Edmond James de Rothschild, 1845 to 1934, a French member of the family, son of James de Rothschild of Paris. Unlike Herzl's political Zionism, Edmond de Rothschild practiced what might be called practical Zionism. He used his wealth to support Jewish agricultural settlement in Ottoman Palestine decades before a Jewish state seemed attainable. In the early 1880s, waves of impoverished Eastern European Jews, the First Aliyah, began immigrating to Palestine, inspired by proto-Zionist ideals, the Hovevei Zion or Lovers of Zion movement. These pioneers established small farming villages, but many early settlements struggled financially and faced harsh conditions. Edmond de Rothschild stepped in as a savior to these colonies. Starting in 1883, he began generously funding Jewish villages in Palestine to ensure their survival. He is credited with underwriting some of the earliest and most important settlements. Rishon LeZion, founded in 1882 by Jewish immigrants, it nearly collapsed under debt and drought. Edmond de Rothschild assumed its expenses, supplying capital and expertise. He similarly aided Zichron Yaakov, Rosh Pina, and others, effectively rescuing them from failure. Edmond de Rothschild didn't just write checks, he took an active role in shaping the settlements. He dispatched administrators and agricultural experts from Europe to introduce modern farming techniques and new crops. Under his patronage, the colonies planted vineyards and started Israel's wine industry. Edmond established the Carmel wineries in Rishon LeZion and Zichron Yaakov in the 1890s. He even funded a glass factory to produce bottles for the wine, recruiting a young engineer named Meir Dizengoff, who later became the first mayor of Tel Aviv, to manage it. These investments jump-started the agricultural economy of the Yishuv, the Jewish community in Palestine. It's estimated that Rothschild spent over $50 million, in early 20th century dollars, supporting the settlements, an enormous sum that earned him the affectionate title Ha-Nadiv Hayadua, the famous benefactor, among Palestinian Jews. Edmond's approach had a strong philanthropic and paternalistic character. He often insisted on overseeing how his funds were used. For example, his agents managed many villages, sometimes causing tension with the independent-minded pioneers. Nonetheless, his support was indispensable. He helped drain malarial swamps, built clinics for malaria victims, and sponsored schools and synagogues. Uniquely, he encouraged a cultural and religious dimension. The Baron, though himself not Orthodox, advised settlers to maintain Jewish religious traditions as a unifying force, telling them, only a sense of religion can unite all parts of the people. He even promoted the revival of Hebrew. Rothschild funded schools taught in Hebrew, and he expressed delight at hearing Hebrew poetry in the land of Israel. By the 1890s, Edmond de Rothschild had effectively become the chief patron of Zionist settlement in Palestine. He bought land, including a large tract in the Golan Heights in 1894 for future Jewish communities. Historians note that 44 new villages, moshavot, kibbutzim, etc., were established or sustained by Rothschild and his family's funding over the years. This laid the socio-economic groundwork for a Jewish national home well before Herzl's political efforts bore fruit. It's important to stress that Edmond de Rothschild initially distanced himself from political Zionism. He remained separate from the Zionist movement, and even rejected institutional and ideological Zionism in its early years. Instead, he saw his work in Palestine in humanitarian and nation-building terms, not necessarily as part of Herzl's diplomatic campaign. Rothschild feared that overt political agitation, like Herzl's, might endanger Jews in the diaspora or provoke Ottoman wrath, thereby threatening the quiet progress of the settlements. This caution underlays some of the tension between him and Herzl. Rothschild philanthropy and self-determination. Beyond Palestine, the wider Rothschild family also championed Jewish causes that intersected with emerging Zionism. In Britain, members of the Rothschild family, like Lord Lionel de Rothschild in the mid-1800s, fought for Jewish emancipation and civic rights, helping create an environment where Anglo-Jewry could later support Zionism. Rothschild women and men funded Jewish schools, relief societies, and immigration efforts. For example, in the late 19th century, Baron Maurice de Hirsch, a Rothschild contemporary, though not of the same family, financed mass Jewish emigration to Argentina. Edmond de Rothschild himself supported the relocation of Jews to safer lands. At one point he backed settlement projects in places like Cyprus and Mesopotamia when Palestine seemed tenuous. These efforts reflected a broader commitment to Jewish self-help and proto-national solutions, even if not explicitly Zionist. As Zionism gained momentum, Rothschild money and influence often worked in tandem with the movement's goals. Funding from wealthy philanthropists helped lead to the establishment of the State of Israel, as one historical summary puts it. For instance, the Jewish National Fund, JNF, founded in 1901 to purchase land for Jewish settlement, received significant donations from prominent Jews worldwide, possibly including the Rothschilds, though the Rothschilds tended to prefer directing their own projects. Edmond's land purchases were sometimes later transferred to the JNF or the Zionist organization. In 1923, he turned over management of the colonies to the Palestine Jewish Colonization Association, PICA, which he established as a quasi-public body. PICA coordinated with the official Zionist institutions and acquired over 125,000 acres of land. By 1929, Baron Edmond was named honorary chairman of the Jewish Agency for Israel, indicating a full alignment with the organized Zionist movement. Thus, initially separate tracks, Rothschild's private initiative and the Zionist organization's public initiative, eventually converged toward the common aim of Jewish state building. Conflicts and cooperation with Herzl. The relationship between Herzl and the Rothschilds, particularly Edmond, was complex. Herzl greatly admired the Rothschilds' philanthropy but needed them to embrace political Zionism. In 1896, after publishing Der Judenstaat, Herzl sought a meeting with Baron Edmond de Rothschild to enlist his support. The two did meet in Paris, but it did not go well. Edmond de Rothschild was skeptical of Herzl's plans. He felt that loudly proclaiming a Jewish state would threaten Jews in the diaspora by stirring anti-Semitism, and could also jeopardize the fragile Jewish colonies already in Palestine. Essentially, Rothschild feared Herzl's political approach was premature and dangerous. According to Herzl's diary and contemporary reports, Baron Rothschild rejected Herzl's proposal, deeming it impractical. He preferred to continue his quiet agricultural work, rather than push for immediate sovereignty. Herzl was disappointed. He wrote of Edmond's stance with frustration, interpreting that the Baron would rather have a philanthropic plantation than a Jewish state. This clash highlighted a difference in vision. Herzl championed political action and statehood, whereas Rothschild emphasized gradual settlement and economic groundwork. However, Herzl didn't entirely alienate the Rothschilds. He next approached Baron Hirsch, in 1896, who likewise turned him down. Hirsch was investing in Argentine colonization, not Palestine. These rejections spurred Herzl to bypass the old philanthropic elite and rally the masses instead, hence the Zionist Congress. Over time, some in the Rothschild circle grew more sympathetic to Herzl's ideas. By the early 1900s, As pogroms worsened in Eastern Europe, even Edmond de Rothschild began to see the merit of an organized Zionist movement. Though he never met Herzl again, the Baron sent representatives to later Zionist congresses and maintained communications. After Herzl's death, Rothschild's stance continued to evolve. He realized that without the Zionist organization, his own project might not endure politically. In 1907 he remarked, "Without me the Zionists will achieve nothing, but without the Zionists my work is doomed." This recognition led to closer cooperation in the following decades. In summary, while Herzl and Edmond de Rothschild initially differed sharply, one pursuing diplomatic legitimization, the other focusing on on-the-ground development, their efforts were complementary. Herzl provided the political umbrella under which Rothschild's colonies could become a state, and Rothschild provided the economic backbone to validate Herzl's state-building dreams. Any personal tensions were eventually eclipsed by the larger cause they both served.
Thank you for watching. Please share the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Check out other series including 10-minute synopses or complete audiobooks on HennessyHendo on YouTube. Improve your vocabulary. Be more fun at parties. Increase your knowledge. Become a literary master like Hendo.